Very good morning, students. I hope people are very safe and good. Okay, so we are going to see about an production analysis. So what do you mean by production? So production means it is a transformation of input which is converted into an output. Okay, so this is called as in production. So then we saw about the four factors of production: land, labor, capital and organization. Okay, then we saw about the production function. What do you mean by production function? The functional relationship between input and output is known as a production function. Under production function, it has been classified into law of variable proportion and law of returns to scale. So law of variable proportion means it is a short run production function, and law of returns to scale means it is a long run production function. Okay. Then we saw the next one. It is an economies of the scale. Economies of the scale means that economies means that is the production which is carried over through short, that is small, or it is carried over a large scale. So if it is a large scale means what is the benefit we will be received. So under economies of the scale, we have two economies of the scale. One is economies of the scale and diseconomies of the scale. Under economies of the scale, we have an internal as well as we have an external. So under diseconomies of the scale, we have an internal as well as an external. So internal means, what do you mean by internal economies of the scale? So under internal economies of the scale, that is while doing a large scale production, internally what is the benefits we will be received, like technical, marketing, economics of survival, managerial power we will be getting. So next financially we will be getting certain benefits. When economies of the scale which is done outside means, that is external means, when there is a large scale of production is carried over means certain externally will be developed. So what will be developed externally, like creating a bank, communication, transport, township will be extended. So this is all externally. So what is the diseconomies of the scale? While doing a large scale production, so internally what is the benefit will be this? What is the drawbacks? Diseconomies of the scale while carried out externally, what is the drawbacks means, that is internally what benefit, what is not benefit, what drawbacks means that they extract the resources from the human labor. So that is one of the major drawbacks under diseconomies of the scale. It is an internally. Externally, what is the drawback? That is while doing an outside of things, what is the drawbacks means the locations of the industries which is located interior. So in order to carry out the labor, transport cost is too high. So transportation is needed. So the cost is much paid on the transportations. Okay. So this is external economies. Then we will move to the isoquants. So what do you mean by an isoquant? Isoquants and indifference curve. Okay, both are same. So like indifference curve which is measures about the consumer utility, consumer satisfactions, how the satisfactions which is measured there. But under isoquants, it based on the production satisfactions. Okay, producer side. So indifference curve, it is measured on the consumer. Isoquants is measured on the production side. So what do you mean by an isoquants? Isoquants means what? Isoquants means a locus of different combination of two input. Okay, different combination of two input which gives the same level of output. So different combination of two input which gives the same level of output. So this is called as an isoquants. So isoquants, I have explained the table of an isoquants. Okay, schedule. Then we saw about the diagram of isoquants. The same. Now we will move to isomap. Okay. Isomap means that is, here it explains that higher the isoquants, higher the level of output. Lower the isoquants, lower the level of output. Okay. So see here the diagram which is explained. Same as it is indifference curve. They have taken as a two inputs. One is labor and another one is a capital. So money value which is measured in your y-axis and quantity terms which is measured in your x-axis. So what happens here? So your x-axis represents labor and your y-axis represents capital. Okay. So isoquants is a downward sloping curve. So it is a convex curve. So isoquants is a convex curve. What do you mean by convex? Convex means that is the curve will start from left and it will end to the right. So concave, see the curve concave means the curve will be like this. Okay, so this is called as a concave. This is called as a convex. Why the curve should be convex? It starts from the left and it ends to right. Because in order to get an additional unit of x, we have to sacrifice a y commodity. If you sacrifice a y commodity, you will be getting more additional of labor. So this is called as a marginal rate of technical substitution. So this is a law. Okay. So in order to get one commodity, that is additional commodity of x, if you want an additional of x, so you have to sacrifice y. Okay. Is it clear? That's why our isoquants curve will start from left and it ends to the right. So it is a convex curve. Okay. So higher the isoquants, higher the level of output. So if one isoquants are there means I am getting a satisfaction level. See, my isoquants keep on increasing means my output level will be increasing. So higher the level of output. So higher the level of input, higher the level of output. So how much the isoquants are high. Okay, if it is keep on increasing means that much amount of output will be received. So this is called as an isomap. So isomap means higher the isoquants, higher the level of output. Lower the isoquants, lower the level of output. Okay. So next we move to the properties of an isoquants. So same as it is in the indifference curve, we saw five properties of indifference curve. The same as it is like that. We have a same properties of isoquants. We have the four properties of isoquants. So first one, isoquants has a negative. So page number is 65. So properties of isoquants. Okay. So isoquants has a negative. Isoquants are convex to the origin. Next, no intersection of isoquants. Isoquants should not intersect each other. Isoquants curve represents a higher the output or higher the level of isoquants. And fifth one, isoquants should not touch the x-axis or y-axis. Okay. So these are the five properties of isoquants. So let me see the five properties of isoquants. So now we will see the properties of an isoquants. Okay, we have five properties of an isoquants. So first one, isoquants has a negative. Okay, so isoquants has a negative slope. Then isoquants are convex to the origin. Third one, two isoquants should not intersect each other. And fourth one, higher the isoquants, higher the level of output. And then fifth one, isoquants should not touch the x-axis and should not touch the y-axis. Okay. So see the first one, the isoquants always have a negative slope. Isoquants always have a negative slope. It starts from left and it should end to the right. Okay. So it starts from the left and it ends to the right. Why? Because we are using a marginal rate of technical substitution. So if we needed an labor, that is if we need an additional labor, we have to sacrifice the capital. So if we sacrifice a y commodity means automatically what happens? We will be getting more labor. So that's why we are using a marginal rate of technical substitution. So isoquant starts from the left and it ends to the right. Then isoquants are convex to the origin. The isoquants are convex curve. So it is not a concave curve. So isoquant should be like this. This is an M bar technical substitution. Okay, so isoquant should not be a straight line. Okay, it should not be a straight line. It should not touch the x-axis or it should not touch the y-axis. Then the isoquant should not be like a concave. So it should not be as a concave curve. So it is a convex curve to the origin. So isoquants will not touch the x-axis and it should not touch the y-axis. Next one, third one, isoquants will not intersect each other. See, if both the isoquants are intersect each other, means at this position itself we are getting a more level of satisfaction, more level of output. But see, the isoquant first should be less and the second shows a greater level of output. But what happens when it intersect each other? What happens when it intersect each other? The isoquant 2 which is moves downwards. So this shows that output level is down. Okay, so that's why the isoquants should not intersect each other. Next one, fourth one, isoquants. Higher the isoquants, higher the level of output. Lower the isoquants, lower the level of output. When isoquants keep on increasing, means it shows a higher level of output. If only one isoquants is there, means we get a less level of output. If it is 2 means we are just getting more level of output. If keep on increasing, if it is more and more means it shows a higher level of output. Okay. Then fifth one, isoquant should not touch the x-axis or it should not touch the y-axis. If it is touches the x-axis and y-axis means it prefers only one input. Okay, but actually we are using two different input which shows the same level of output. But when it is touches the y-axis means what happens? It touches the y-axis means they are using only capital. If it is touches the x-axis means we are using only labor. But actually it is wrong. So it should not touch the y-axis and it should not touch the x-axis. If it is touches here means they are using only labor. If it is touches the y-axis means here they are using only capital. So this is wrong. Actually we are using two input which gives the same level of output. So wherever we are in the combination, it should give the same level of output. Okay, this is called as an isoquant. So isoquant has a negative. So negative slope, it is a convex to the origin. Isoquants should not intersect each other. Higher the isoquants, higher the level of output. Lower the isoquants, lower the level of output. Then isoquant should not touch the x or it should not touch the y. Okay. Now we will move to the isocost line. So what do you mean by a cost? See, cost line means it is a budget line. So a producer will be fixing a budget. So up to this minimum point. Okay. So this is my budget. So within this minimum budget, I have to get a maximum level of output. So in an indifference curve, we saw a consumer equilibrium. Here in a production lesson, we are going to see about a producer equilibrium, where a producer getting a maximum level of output, okay, maximum level of benefit. So actual mind of a producer with a limited cost of production, he wants to get a maximum level of output. And the indifference curve, it is based on the consumer. So, a consumer point of view, with his limited income, he wants to get a maximum satisfaction. But here, producer side, with his limited cost of production, he wants to reduce his cost. Cost should be reduced and he wants to increase more level of output. So, when costs are decreased and output are more, so this is the place. So where is the place? That place is called as a producer equilibrium. So producer got in an equilibrium. He got a more level of satisfaction. Okay. So this is called as a producer equilibrium. So now we will see about the producer equilibrium. Okay. So producer equilibrium. So what do you mean by a producer equilibrium? So where a producer will be in an equilibrium, where he gets a maximum level of output. Okay. So that is called as a producer equilibrium. See, generally producer equilibrium means what? See, producer equilibrium means with limited cost of production. With limited cost of production, a producer wants to get maximum level of output. Okay. A producer, where he will be in an equilibrium means, that is the mentality of a producer, he want to spend less. So the cost of production should be less and the output should be more. So when the cost of production is minimum and the output should be in a maximum level. So this is called as a producer equilibrium. So with a limited cost of production, a producer wants to get a maximum level of output. So he will fix the place where the cost has been decreased and where he gets a more level of output. Okay. So this producer equilibrium is also called as a least cost combination. Okay, so this is called as a least cost combination. So producer equilibrium, which is explained with the help of a diagram. So diagram see here. So 0 to x axis represents your labor and y axis represents your capital. So this line is called as an iso cost line. So see this line is called as an iso cost line. So iso cost line is also called as a budget line. So this is my budget. So he is fixing the budget. Okay. So at the minimum budget, that is with the minimum cost, where the cost is decreased and where he gets a maximum level of output. Okay. So that place is called as an equilibrium. So he getting a maximum level of output. So see here we have a 4 iso cost line. Okay. So this is my budget line, or this is called as my price line, or this is called as my iso cost ratio line. So what happens here? See, from the first iso cost line, from the first one iso cost line. So this is my iso cost line. So where my cost, my budget. So my budget is up to this place. I am not receiving any level of equilibrium. That is my cost. I can spend more. Okay. So I can spend more and I will be getting more level of output. So at the first question, the producer will not be getting any level of satisfaction. Not satisfaction, any level of output. So when he moves to the second one, third one and fourth one, so where the producer is in equilibrium, so at the third place, not at the fourth question. So this third and fourth is beyond this limit. The cost has been increased, but at the position of the second one, see the second position, that is the second iso cost line, that is this producer equilibrium, which is a tangent. So here is the tangent position. So this is the tangent position which explains that the cost is equal to an output. So this is the place where my cost is equal to my output. So where I am getting an equilibrium. So my cost is equal to output. So this is the place I am getting an equilibrium position. Okay. So equilibrium. When a producer just moves to the third iso cost line or fourth iso cost line, his cost is keep on increasing. So when the cost is keep on increasing and the output also will be increased, but he will not be getting any level of satisfactions here. So what is the main mentality of a producer? A rational producer mentality, that he wants to reduce the cost. So with this limited cost and he wants to get a maximum level of output. So where a producer getting an equilibrium position at the second isocost line. So this is the place where the equilibrium line which is tangent to the isocost line. So this isoquants touches the isocost line. So this is the place is called as an equilibrium position where Mn of level of labor and capital has been used. Okay. So up to this isoquants is over. Next we will move to the Cobb-Douglas production function. So see here, Cobb and Douglas, these two are a statistical economist. Okay, they are an American statistical economist. They have explained about this production function very clear manner. So they have explained with the use of alpha and beta. Okay, so just for the sake they have used the word alpha and beta is equal to 1. Generally in production function we have three stages. First one is an increasing returns. Second one is an constant returns. And third one is an diminishing returns to scale. Okay, so first position what it explains, increasing returns means what? If I am using 10% of input means my output will be more than 10%. Generally, okay, generally if I am using 10% of input means my output will be more than 10%. So this is called as an increasing returns. Okay. Then constant returns. Constant returns means if I am using an 10% of input means my output also will be 10%. It is an equal constant. So 10% of input and output also 10%. So this is called as a constant returns to scale. Third stage, it is a diminishing returns to scale. So we are using a 10% of input means the output will be below 10%. So this is called as a diminishing returns to scale. Okay. So these three stages, under these three stages, Cobb-Douglas production explains about the constant returns to scale. Actually, we don't have an increasing returns to scale and we don't have a diminishing returns to scale. We have a constant returns to scale only. Why? What is the reason? See, whatever we are using, the output will not be increased. What amount of input we are using, same amount of output only we will be get. Okay, so there is no any magical miracle or nothing else is there. So input is 10%. What input you are giving, the same output only we will be received. So we will not receive in a double manner or we will not receive in a reduced manner. So it will be in constant only. So they through statistically they have proved here. So that's why they have explained here that Cobb-Douglas production functions explains about a constant returns to scale. Here they are taking a two factor of production. One is labor and another one is a capital. Okay, so they are using a two factor of production, labor and capital. So both are in a constant manner. So how much labor we are taking, how much capital we are taking, the same amount of level of output we will be received. Okay, but actually what they are telling that we have to take labor more and capital less. That is 3/4 of labor and 1/4 of capital should be taken. But wherever it is, whatever it is, okay, so wherever we are in the position, so 3/4% of labor and 1/4% of capital, which gives the same level of output. So the elasticity of this substitution is equals to 1. So whatever it is in a position, 3/4 of labor and 1/4 of capital, whatever it is in this position, but it gives a same level of elasticity, it is equal to 1. So this is the concept they have explained here. Okay. So up to this isoquants it's over. So under production, So we saw about what do you mean by production. We saw the 4 factors of production: land, labor, capital and organization. Then we saw about the production function. So production function, under which it is classified into 2, short run and long run. So short run, which is explains about the law of variable proportion. Then long run explains about the law of returns to scale. Then we saw the economies of the scale. Then we saw about the isequence. So what is isequence? Isequence properties, isequence map. Then we saw the isocost line. Then producer equilibrium. Then now we saw about the Cobb-Douglas production function. Up to this production it's over. Next we will move to the supply. Okay. So we will continue this in the next class. Law of supply. Okay. Thank you students. So for you homework, that is you have to draw the diagram. Isequence meaning, then isequence map, properties of isequence, then producer equilibrium. Okay, just copy in your classwork. I need the diagram explanations. That's all. Okay, thank you students.